Well, welcome back to the news today. This is the Daily Debate. Well, Hanin Zawabi, an outspoken member of the Israeli parliament from the Arab party Balad, made waves yesterday in a television interview to local Channel 2, saying that the Israeli Air Force pilots that bombed Gaza in the summer's Operation Protective Edge committed terrorist acts akin to those of the brutal Islamic State group. Well, her comment triggered a harsh response in the Israeli political arena, and there are now calls to expel Zawabi from the parliament and even from the country. Well, this exchange of words has once again raised the question of the status of Arab Israelis within society. With me tonight is Sami Abu Shehadeh, the Secretary General of the Balad Party in Tel Aviv, and Jaffa, and defense attorney and radio broadcaster Yoram Sheftel. Thank you both for being with us tonight. But before we get into the discussion, let's take a look at what our viewers had today with Ayman Siksek.
Yes, good evening, David. As you mentioned, today we're discussing internal social issues in Israel, specifically the Arab population and the issue of their integration in the country. We put the question for a global vote to our viewers. We asked them, do you think Israeli Arabs are integrated in Israeli society? And it's interesting to see the worldview on this issue, especially because this is a significant discussion in Israel at this time. Let's take a look together at the results of our daily poll. As you can see, David, 71% voted no, saying Israeli Arabs have not integrated in Israeli society. Only 21% voted yes. But we also asked our viewers to weigh in with their comments on the issue. Let's review what they shared with us today. First up, we have Luana, who tells us, yes, they have the same benefits and opportunities as other Israelis. So she's addressing the social aspects and the fact that Arab citizens of Israel have the same social rights by law, which is one thing to keep in mind in this discussion. Our next respondent, Matthias, tells us the world is concerned with the IS. Now, this is reflecting on Muslims and Arabs all over the world, and we've seen recently in Australia too, where Muslim communities suffered the backlash after the IS threatened to attack Australia. So there's an important point to be made here on the possibility of integration when there's social and political criticism. Let's take a look at one more comment. Simon writes to us in French. I'll translate. He says, some Arab Israelis identify with their Palestinian history and heritage. Maybe that's why they have not fully integrated. And I think, David, the issue being raised here is not whether there is or isn't integration, but rather what the makeup of this integration is. What does this integration mean? Is it only social and political, or should integration also entail a more ideological element? But that concludes our comment section for today. As always, we encourage our viewers to continue sharing their ideas with us on Facebook and Twitter, and having their say by voting on the daily poll on i24news.tv. Back to you, David.
Well, thank you, Ayman, for that look at our viewers' comments here. Mr. Sheftel, what's your take on this argument being made? What's your answer to this question?
Well, I think that 9 out of 10 Arab Muslims in Israel do not want to integrate in the Israeli society.
Because the Arab Muslims make up about 80% of the Arab Israeli population.
Yes, because they want to destroy the state of Israel, using all the rights that a citizen have in a democracy in order to destroy it. In that sense, I would say that the average Muslim Arab in Israel is very similar to the German Sudetenland and Ahmad Tibi, for instance, or the party of my opponent, acting exactly as Honlein acted in Czechoslovakia in 1938, willing to destroy it from within because they fundamentally oppose the existence of the state of Israel as a Jewish state.
Well, some strong comments made here, Mr. Shadi. First of all, your response to the question in general, how would you answer this?
David, I think that one of the important components of these problems when we are addressing the Arab-Palestinian minority issues in Israel is the simple fact that the Israelis have tried to reinvent the Palestinians again after the occupation of 1948 as something new called the Arabs of Israel. And these Arabs of Israel, according to the official Israeli narrative, do not have national identity. Now, the state was not successful in convincing them that they do not have national identity. They believe that they are part of the Palestinian people. And much different than Muslims in Europe or other parts of the world, in our case, we were the indigenous community. We did not immigrate to Israel. What really happened was that Israel immigrated to us.
You did.
Now,
this land was empty 120 years ago.
You did. Okay. First
you are
of all,
workers, immigrants, that the British and the Turks
you can invent any
95%
sir,
of you.
You can continue inventing history the way you like.
No, it's not inventing
but
history.
Most of the historical research.
Mark Twain was here in 1867 and he wrote his impressions. The country was empty completely.
I read Twain and I read much others. And when we are talking about serious historical research, sir, not Mark Twain and his cynicism, most of the people say
the British consul in Jerusalem wrote to the Foreign Office that the country, the state, is completely empty and there is a urgent need to bring population to this land.
Instead of bickering over the details of history here, let's focus on the
details.
today.
The devil is always in the details.
This is not details.
How do you feel about the comments of Minister Zoabi? You know, such pointed comments here.
He's fully
Member of the
identified
Knesset,
with this.
A member of the
Knesset,
Parliament.
Zoabi, said something quite, and I think totally logical. She said that anyone who is using force in such a situation that Israel did in Gaza is also a terrorist. And killing people by F-16s does not make them nicer than using a sword. She says it's worse, because by the F-16, with one press on the button, you destroy a whole building and maybe a whole neighborhood in Gaza, which is killing much more people and making much more evil acts than killing someone with a sword. For part of the people could be convinced with this.
True.
Part of the people could not be convinced.
But you
with
don't agree with her.
Well, now,
position.
what I do not agree with is this discourse in the Israeli society that the Jewish majority have the right to tell us what to say and what not to say. We believe that if there is equality and there isn't, if there should be equality in a normal democracy, there are no groups inside the society that have the right to give those rights or take it from anyone else. You take your rights because you are a citizen, not because you are a Jew, you pray in this way, you pray in that way, you invent your God. You take your rights in a democracy because you are a citizen. And they are not conditioned, okay? They are not under any condition. You take them because you are a citizen. In the Israeli society, because there is no real essence in this democracy and there is no equality, the Jews, the majority of the Jews, have this feeling all the time that the state is theirs and they have the right to decide on all these things. This is the problem.
What do you make of the claims of inequality today for Israeli Arabs?
Look, research which was done by extreme left academic, Professor Samocha, from Haifa University, said that 50%, 50, of Muslim Arabs in Israel are Holocaust denials. The vote to the Parliament of Israel, the Knesset,
this is why they do not deserve equality.
Shows.
They think differently about history, so they do not deserve equality.
They shows that 9 out of 10 Arabs voting for parties which want to destroy Israel within. Israel is not just a state of its citizens, it's the Jewish state. By its
and this is its problem.
And by its constitution.
But over 20% of the population.
It has no constitution, by the way.
First of all,
it has
not
no
20%.
constitution.
First of all, not 20%.
Well, the Israeli Census Bureau says over 20%.
The Druze don't consider themselves as Arabs. They served in the Israeli army in bigger numbers than the Jews.
I don't know about these Jews who don't consider themselves Arabs, by the way.
I don't know of any bigger insult to most Christian Arabs in Israel by telling them that they are Palestinians. So it's not 20%, it's 15%. That's first of all.
Do you believe that
Second, 15%, it's a very small minority. And for instance, if you take a state like Malaysia, which has 54% Muslims, 54%, they call themselves a Muslim state, and the laws reflect the fact that this is a Muslim state.
Well, it sounds like you're arguing that the non-Jewish citizens don't deserve equal rights.
Oh, not at all. Look, there is a wonderful Arab woman in the north of Israel, Muslim, which lives in a Jewish city. Her 3 sons served in fighting units. My opinion, such an Arab should deserve to get from the state 5% more in every payment that a Jew gets.
Well, this is certainly
Not
a
at all.
minority case that you mentioned here.
As I said, 9 out of 10 Muslim Arabs in Israel wants, like the person that sits there, wants to destroy the state of Israel as a Jewish state, and he has the chutzpah to claim the right to do it. And if we don't allow him to do it, then we are not a democracy. When we are, but we are a Jewish democracy which say and have the power, thank God, political power, to dictate to our constitution the fact that we are a Jewish state. The Independence Declaration of the State of Israel declares that the State of Israel,
which could be seen as very exclusive for the over 20% of non-Jewish citizens.
First
a
of
sizable
all,
minority.
But look,
let's give Mr. Shehadeh a moment here.
Quarter of these 20% fully identify themselves with the State of Israel. It's only 9 out of 10 Muslims, which most of them are jihad or fascists as well.
Complex statistics thrown around here, but
this is the right
do you
statistics.
feel that the majority of Arabs living in Israel as citizens are out to overthrow the current order within
First of
Israel?
all, David, as a political scientist, and researcher, we know that the Arab-Palestinian community in Israel, Arab-Palestinian minority in Israel, is one of the quietest minorities all over the world. And they don't have this feeling of belonging because there is no equality and there's much of racism. Our serious problem here is that the state is much more interested in Jewish morals and Jewish manners and Jewish history than universal values.
Well, some have expressed to me the concept of the glass ceiling or the concept of within your community being looked at as somewhat of a sellout if you go and work in mainstream society in Israel, that these are challenges that young people face in the Arab communities.
Only the fact that you were not born to the right race from the state point of view gives you everything less in education, in housing, in everything, in every field of life you can think of. Now, the serious problem that instead of building a political system that serves everyone equally, what we are saying in my party is that Israel should be the state of all its citizens, and the citizens will have their rights according to their citizenship, not according to their ethnic or religious or any other identity.
A two-state solution or one state?
Two states, one state, 15 states, it's really not a matter for us. What's important that all these states, one or more, David, should be normal liberal democracies, like any other liberal democracy all over the world, that do not
like
give...
all the Arab states are classic liberal democracies.
Well, sir, if your mother for democracy is Syria,
the Arab people are not capable to live in a democracy. How do I know? How do I know?
Exactly racism.
How do I know?
If there is any kind of
how do I know?
For racism,
how do I know? Because 350
kind of
primitive Arabs around us don't live even in one democracy. How do I know? That's the facts. Tell us.
Sir, it's really
please
hard.
name me an Arab democracy ever
really
existed.
Hard to talk about the human rights when you have such views about 350 million people. But if your model of democracy is Syria, there is no wonder that it looks like this. Okay.
Let me give you a more focused question here. Over the decades of living in Israel as an Arab, has the situation changed in the last 10, 15 years with the rise of more violence, a more intense separation between Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza from people within Israel?
David, since the Oslo Agreement, the situation of the Arab-Palestinian community in Israel, in my point of view, is getting worse because of this way of...
Why do you feel that is?
Because of this crazy dealing with this ethnic identity, and that nobody is really know how to define it. By the way, this is bringing much more hatred towards the other. Now, to be part of the community, you have to change your religion. But still, the Jewish religion also don't want... You should change your religion. You should be Jewish. But in order to be Jewish, it's different than Christian religion or Islam. They don't want any more people. And you should be built, and you should be born Jewish in order to be part of... So
Sheftel,
this identity is very exclusive.
In line, looking for the shift of religion. It sounds like ideology is at the heart of your argument.
First of all, Judaism is first and foremost a nationality and not religion. And the best fact is that you have millions of completely atheist Jews which see themselves Jews. Why? Because see themselves nationally as Jews. That's first of all. By the way, it's another thing that all the anti-Semites, and according a recent study, 93% of the Palestinian so-called Arabs has anti-Semitic stigmas about Jews. 93%, the highest of any population on earth. The highest of any population on earth.
Thank you for joining us.
So what I want to say that it's nothing to do with religion. It's to do
Sami
with the
Shadi,
fact
thank you
that
very much.
Israel is
Mr.
the
Sheftel, I'm
national
sorry we're out of
state of the
time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you to our viewers. We'll be back in a moment, one-on-one.